Welcome to Horrifically Well Read, Bled, and Said, a podcast for insightfully unhinged
and surprisingly therapeutic conversations with all members of the horror community,
including indie and mainstream authors,
influencers,
fellow podcasters,
librarians,
professors,
and therapists.
What kinds of things do we talk about?
Horror as an allegory of society, from brandishing someone who loves horror as a disturbed human being,
to real-life human horrors like systemic racism on Cape Cod and mass incarceration,
the impact of horror on a family, from the happy family traditions,
and also the traumatic experiences,
the ever-present shadow of organized religious trauma,
the ways horror is a formative influence on our lives at different stages,
horror as a catalyst for acceptance and community,
as well as an ever-present source of comfort.
In between all of that are lots of asides, digressions, and stuff you didn't know we'd cover, but you are glad that we did.
You'll feel like you just sat yapping with close friends about your favorite topics. Today's guest on Horrifically Well Read, Bled, and Said is one of our favorite people. Monique Asher has written a fantastic Southern Gothic called Don't Eat the Pie, which Rebecca and I both loved and highly suggest that you purchase. And she is also the co-host of one of my favorite podcasts called Stay the Night, which has new episodes coming potentially as soon as this episode is out. So, without further ado, let's go on to the episode. Okay, and welcome. We are so excited to say hello to Monique Asher. Welcome.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. I think I'm accidentally a horror reader too.
Oh, can't wait to hear about that. So last summer I read Don't Eat the Pie and absolutely loved it. And we're going to get specifically into that book. But we met in person at StokerCon.
Yes.
And I must say, one of the great experiences I've had since becoming part of this whole horror community was going to visit a very old cemetery on Friday the 13th with you and a bunch of people, including previous guests, Alyssa Alessi, and that was so cool. So thank you for inviting me. And, I've talked a lot about it, but I want to hear your thoughts.
Well, one, I'm so glad that you came and you weren't just like, what, go to a graveyard with this stranger in the middle of the night? What are we doing here? It was nice that everyone really trusted me to lead them there. I think
it was like 1 o'clock in the morning.
It was technically Saturday the 14th, I guess, but
I think y'all
still felt like Friday the 13th.
Yeah. When we tell it, it's exactly right before midnight.
Exactly.
And I was like way too much of a weenie. I was like worried about everything, trespassing and walking. I was just like, I gotta stay in the room.
Yeah.
But we'll get into why I'm afraid of everything and after you guys are done describing your experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's a normal thing for you, right?
For me?
Yes.
To go gallivanting. Yeah, actually, well, I'll say my sister and I, we do the stay the night, but even before then, one of our favorite things to do kind of on girls' trips or camping trips and stuff like that was to drink and then find a graveyard to go kind of bust into in the night. Always respectfully. We do at least I do when I go into a cemetery, it's kind of with the intention, especially like kind of a neglected one, that maybe nobody's been there for a while. And I just like the idea of remembering people that maybe other family has passed on. And so there's nobody to come visit them. And I don't think it has to be sad all the time. Like, I know when I die, if everyone who visits me is just really sad, I'm going to kind of I'm not into that, guys. So please instead have a couple drinks and come visit me. So cemeteries are definitely a regular visit. But getting into actually visiting haunted places didn't really start to heat up until probably the last 5 years.
And was there a specific inciting event that caused that, or was it just I've always been into it. Let's get real about this.
It's at the end of the season, we need to go someplace for real, and really investigate it. And so that's what kind of made it finally happen to us. I think we were only recording for a couple months when we did our first little outing It wasn't too far, but we went to a crybaby bridge for our Christmas episode.
What's a crybaby bridge?
So there's more than one, but the general lore around a crybaby bridge is that it's haunted, but usually by either like children or a mother. But supposedly you go there, you can hear like babies crying. The lore around this one was that somebody was pregnant out of wedlock way back in the day, and she threw her baby over the bridge. I missed a whole trigger warning for that. So now her spirit haunts the bridge, kind of looking for her baby. And that was the first time that we ever used the Estes method. And we both got so scared. We ended up just trying it out for like 5 minutes and then hopping in the car because we were terrified.
That's good to know that you still got scared, because I feel like, and it was interesting in the cemetery that we were at. When we did like sort of like a kind of Estes method, I guess, where like one person had it. But when stuff starts coming in, it's like, it's just so real and surreal at the same time that you're just kind of like, okay, this is happening. So I could imagine, especially like when it's just, you and your sister, to be like, okay, that was great. Time to go.
Yeah, that was our first. Well, this was your first time, right? Using the spirit box.
Yeah, with actual,
I think the first time you use it, it's really something else. It feels weird. It's kind of scary, but so exciting. And I'll be honest, that Estes method, like at least when I listened in, it was the clearest I think anything's ever come through.
Really, that night?
Yep.
My.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that it really, now, I never, whatever you want to call it, agnostic about spirits and that kind of stuff. It wasn't that I didn't believe. It just, I was like, I'd never actually experienced much of anything. So when that started, I was like, well, my entire sort of brain has been completely rearranged now. So how you, like when you first, you kind of thought, and I know you've had experiences before, but when it comes through like that and one person's asking questions and you don't even know what they're asking, and later you realize those answers line up perfectly, it's just wild.
Yeah, it is. I think, it's an experience like nothing else. And I don't know if you experienced this, but the first time that we really got good contact with Estes method, the first time we really got a good, clear EVP, it was like everything changed for me. Like I'd always been a believer in the paranormal, but never, I'd had like ghostly experiences, but never been able to like communicate with something before. And when you communicate, I think it just like adds that extra layer of, so something happens to us afterwards and we can still communicate with people. Like, it's that?
It's this really odd mixture of unnerving and reassuring. Like,
like it's so reassuring.
Peaceful, Yeah, it's like, it just is like, it really makes you sort of relook at, the life as you're living it now, very much to be like, okay, the things that I do mean something different because something carries on, something happens after this.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the beginning, I guess, and say, what came first, your interest in the paranormal or like spooky movies? Were you always a book person? Like, how did this whole journey start?
Well, I think it all started with my mom.
Okay.
So it all started with my mom because her and I and my sister, we would definitely watch scary movies and stuff like that together. But she also just had a bunch of ghost stories from where she grew up that she'd experienced. And so hearing, I think, those ghost stories from a young age, I was like, I want that to happen to me. Like, I want to have an experience like that. And
if you're comfortable, what area, like roughly at least, like area would that be?
So my mom grew up downtown Detroit, where like the old Tiger Stadium used to be. The people from around here will know exactly what I'm talking about. It's all been torn down now, but they were like really, really old buildings. And there was this block that she lived on at one time. My grandmother was an impoverished woman. She became a mother at a really young age and had to kind of leave home at I think she left home at like 13 or 14.
Oh, wow.
And they lived in Kentucky for a long time. And then her and her mother moved up to Detroit. I think my grandma lived with them for a while too. My great grandma, while they were growing up. But anyway, there were 7 kids at her in a house. And that was kind of how the block was set up, was just rows of houses next to each other. Lots of young families with lots of kids. People just working class trying to get by. And they had some really weird experiences in that house, like people talking kind of all the time, like hearing conversations in other rooms where there's nobody there. It was like a 3-story house, and they would often hear, like my mom would always report when she got up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, you had to go out onto this landing almost with the stairs to get to the bathroom. And every single night that she woke up in the middle of the night, she would hear somebody coming down the stairs as she was going to go to the bathroom, but nobody was ever there. Yeah, it was really scary.
I'd be like not drinking before bed or something.
I'd be investing in diapers, probably.
Probably, yeah. That's what I'm
We're just
hearing.
wearing diapers. Oh man.
Lifelong
but
journey
yeah,
years, Adam.
that whole area now though has been torn down, so I don't know if there's any like still any activity over there. But they had a seance in one of the houses too before it got torn down, and had weird experiences, and I guess everybody on the block talked about it. Yeah.
Man, a block party seance. That's interesting.
Yep. Yeah, we're from Detroit. Things are just a little bit weirder here, you know?
Y'all go hard.
Yeah.
So you had this like firm basis of sort of like oral ghost stories passing down. Do you think that influenced like your desire to be a writer too? Like,
I think storytelling, absolutely, because the stories that my mom told, not just about her experiences growing up, but there's a lot of lore in my family just in general. With my dad's from French Canada, so his whole family line is up through there and has an interesting history. But my mom's family in Kentucky definitely has an interesting history too. So I think I've just always kind of liked storytelling and listening to stories. Yeah. So like from there, from listening to mom and trying to figure out how to write my own stories and watching tons and tons of horror. Yeah, I started getting really interested in like screenwriting. So I wrote my first script when I was in 5th grade. And inspired by the Scream movies, you know?
I love that.
Nice.
Yeah. So I loved that. And then, you know, you turn into like a teenager and there's like college pressure and you're like, am I going to make any money doing that? And definitely like therapy is another calling for me too. I am a therapist in my day job, but I got out of it for a while.
They all kind of hand in hand, don't they, in a way? There's a lot of horror and stories.
I mean, like, I think you're onto something, because when I was I got to go to Josh Malerman's Halloween freaking party this year, which is crazy.
Way.
That's awesome.
It was a very cool experience because I'm like a huge, like, I probably came off as like the most awkward fangirl in the entire world when I met Josh, but he was so kind and invited me and my friend Matilda to his Halloween party. And almost every person that I met there was a horror author, but also a therapist. Isn't that funny?
No way.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is
so
crazy.
There's a theme there. I don't know.
That's really interesting. I think that, you know, and we've talked about it with a lot of authors and stuff, that horror really explores the, you know, both extreme emotions, extreme situations, the way that people handle those kinds of things. And I think that, like, a lot of times as a therapist, I'm sure you're getting people, you know, not always, it's not, you know, I don't want to stereotype, because people just go to therapy, you know, all the time, you know, because they want to better themselves. But a lot of times the inciting event to start is usually some sort of trauma, some sort of, you know, issue that they're wanting to work out. So I can see it going hand in hand for sure.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I predominantly work in trauma. The type of therapy I do is called EMDR, and it was kind of reference in the book that you read, but I think in both books actually, the EMDR. But that's the type of work that I do, and it's funny. Even though I definitely explore trauma in my horror, it feels so different to me. Like, it feels like they have nothing to do with each other. Which is kind of weird now that I think about it.
Yeah. Do you think that you know, want to make those sort of like, you know, walls between the two to say like, okay, these are, I'm not just kind of doing the same thing all the time?
100%. Yeah. Like there needs to be a little bit of fantasy element in what I'm writing, or I think it would come too close. Yeah. And almost start to feel like work. And I don't know, maybe not. I really do. I've written about a lot of different things to do with mental health. And I think you're right that like I kind of intentionally put a block up that they're in very like separate rooms of my house, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. You know, I think there's one thing that, you know, when thinking about thematically the two books that I've read from you, I think that they both sort of have this like extreme slow, but at the same time, always like closing in escalation of that fantasy or, you know, that element where it's just like it starts very realistic. And by the end, very slowly, you turn around and you're like, holy shit, what the hell is happening here? You know, is that something like, do you just enjoy that kind of story? Do you think that that kind of, like the way that you do that in both, I think is so skillful and it like leads you to in that when it might get more fantastical or, you know, supernatural, whatever you want to describe it, it makes you already believe these characters be in this world.
Yeah.
And then once you get to that, you're like, okay, I'm in. You know, is that like something you think about as you're writing, like especially at the beginning and maybe knowing where you're going to go, that you really try to establish that?
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for saying that. That is such a nice compliment. And like, man, yeah, the way that you said that, that just made me feel so good.
Oh, good.
But so I don't think I've ever intentionally done that. Doesn't that sound stupid? I love that it comes off that way and that it ends up that way. But actually, so for every book I write, I pants. Like, I don't know what I'm writing.
I was going to ask, that is surprising, especially these are they're intricate plots.
Oh my God.
But, so to hear that, I am very impressed.
Yeah, you're a pantser, and I would never have guessed that.
Never.
Because there's several times throughout the book, like, I'm like, oh shit, I had no idea she was going to bring that in.
Yeah.
Like, that's cool. I was into it.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
I was like, oh.
I'm glad I'm pulling it off.
Yeah. And you bring in like historical things and like, not to get into
I'm not going to get into, I will not say a single specific thing, but the one thing you end up talking about 50,
and don't eat the pot.
Yeah, a little bit about 50-60% of the way in, I have always been obsessed with that one historical thing.
Yes.
And I was like, freaking way, that's awesome.
Did you know even that was going to be in there, or were you like, this makes sense?
No, I was like, so when I talk about writing my first draft, I almost feel like I'm hallucinating. Isn't that nuts?
That's great.
No, I feel like I'm in it.
That recently for yourself though?
Yeah, like I'm
it's really fun. I think if writing ever stopped being like that, I don't know if I would do it.
And you referenced Josh Mallerman, and in his Watching Evil Dead, he said like he feels like his eyes just like roll back and it just like pours out of him. So apparently this is a writer's thing.
That's good to know.
Yeah. Man, it's really cool. It is cool to get to do that. I haven't finished the book yet. I freaking have loved what I've read of that book, Watching the Evil Dead.
It is
so
inspiring. Oh my God.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think I was probably like 70% through the first draft, and I was like, sometimes when I don't know what exactly is going to happen next and it's not flowing out in front of the laptop, I'll take a walk or take a drive, good old Midwestern drive, and listen to music.
Have you ever been to that place that you reference historically?
No, I've always wanted to go, and I've been so close.
It's fantastic.
Yes, is it wonderful?
We actually, in that larger area, and people that have read the book will know what I'm talking about. We actually renewed our vows at 10 years, that area. So you're about 70% through and you realize, okay, this is going to be perfect to add to the lore of your book.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I was taking a drive and I just like knew it. I knew like, okay, that's what I was doing. That's why that's there. That's what this is. Once I got through the book too, at the end of it, sometimes so like when I'm writing my drafts, I go at a pretty steady pace. But then when I have about 30% left, like that 30% usually gets dumped out in like 5 days max.
Yeah.
And then after that, my brain just like won't shut off. So like right away, it starts going into like, okay, so you ended here and whoa, you already like wove this thing in back here. Let's do something with that, or like do something more with that. So I do some planning when it comes to like revision and stuff like that. But yeah, the first draft is just like, it just spills out.
So it's like once you have where it ends up, you're kind of like, what can I add to deepen, what happens before that to kind of like, I love that. I also love one of my favorite tropes in the world is the sort of small community. You have no idea who's good and who's bad, but something weird is happening. And like, I love that paranoid like feel that this whole book has, like from the very beginning. So like you nailed that. And that is one of my favorite things is like, this person's good. And then they do something and turn around and you're like, oh God, no, they're not. And then you're like, wait, maybe they are. So that like, there's, I can't even think of like movies right now that kind of do that. I think of like maybe Race with the Devil or like, even like Duel, like there's parts where, they're maybe in a cafe or something and they think they've gotten away and then someone's like, you're blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh shit, they're fucked.
Yeah.
So like, and I think you hit that with this book so well. And I just love that.
Thank you. Yeah. I think about, I feel like Jordan Peele does that really well. Like Get Out was so good. That one I rewatch all the time because I'm with you, even though it's like a really uncomfortable feeling. I like that feeling of knowing something bad is, God, that sounds so messed up, doesn't it? Right? It's like, man, just give me some more of that feeling like something bad's going to happen. And I don't know what it is.
I love it because in this book, like, why is the name Becca, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Becca, like almost immediately, she's like, dude, what the fuck? Like something is not right. And, and she's just so smart and like looking for the thing. So like, I think I love that sort of addition to it because generally the audience has to play that part. And like, you have someone here that's like, I'm not dumb. I'm not taking this for what it is. And even though her mom's like, and I understand her, why Sam does the things that he does, because I think we've all been there, especially with new relationships and things like that. But like, I just absolutely love that. And I was wondering, like, is that do you feel that same way sometimes, that frustration and added this character, that's so like inquisitive and like, no, I'm not going to give up. No, I'm going to ask that question that pisses people off. Do you relate to that? Or, how did that come?
Yeah, I can 100% relate to that because sometimes I will be watching something and be like, how has nobody figured this out yet? Or why isn't anyone doing this? And I knew that Sam was going to do those things because, like one of the things about trauma is it tries to like tell your brain tells you that things that are inherently dangerous are not often, and things that shouldn't feel dangerous. So like speaking up feels terrifying, and being around people who make you uncomfortable doesn't.
It's like speaking up feels so dangerous, but really not speaking up is going to be far more dangerous, actually.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, that's another like paradoxical where it's just like that's so good. I'm gonna be dwelling on that for sure.
Thanks.
Thank
Sometimes I say something.
Yeah. As I talk with a friend that's currently in the middle of holding her boundaries and speaking up and working through her therapist stuff, and speaking up is terrifying. It's like, it's good to know that you're like rallying against yourself, but it's the best thing you can do.
Yeah. I feel like that's the hardest part of getting through some stuff, right? And like our own anxiety is, I always try to remember to myself, our anxiety, our bodies, our brains, they're not designed to make us happy. They're designed to keep us alive. And thankfully we sometimes live in a world where we don't always have to use that mechanism. So we have to try to remind ourselves, right? Like, I don't have to be in that space right now. And maybe my anxiety's not telling me the truth. I can like appreciate it for what it is because I have a higher life expectancy than those who don't have it. But I can't always listen to it when it comes to things that aren't life-threatening. And sometimes it's uncomfortable, but you have to speak up. You have to be brave. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I wanted to share a little bit about, since you guys talked about the ghost hunting.
I'm dying to hear it.
And to hear, okay. So I've shared, the point of the podcast here is I was never a horror reader, but I realized I was reading horrific things. And so I thought that it only started because of horror films and just being exposed way too early and like not being consensual or whatever. So as I'm reading Don't Eat the Pie, they're working with the planchette and the Ouija board.
Oh, the Ouija board.
And I'm like, shit, I can do this. Okay. So I had like grown up deep in the country, and we were just like, everyone around me was 5.5 to 6.5 years older than me. So I was just like drug into a lot of shit so they could do a lot of shit. And my parents would be like, oh yeah,
Just take Rebecca.
And and nothing's take your sister. And nothing's like going to happen. They're not doing anything bad because they have Rebecca with it, right? And so I was exposed to a lot of stuff. So anyway, and it's also like late 80s, early 90s, and your parents just don't care at this point. So
you're probably going to get kidnapped. Yeah, they're telling you that, but then they're saying don't come into the house.
But they don't care that we're playing with a Ouija board. Like they don't care at all. Okay, so they're out. So I guess let me jump back here first. So my brother and my neighbors are like obsessed with getting into like scary shit. And, it's like, can we watch enough like occult stuff? Can we like talk to spirits? Can we do all this stuff? Yeah. So, it's Michael and Desiree, and Desiree's my neighbor, and she's like my sister. Like she's known me since I was born, and Michael is 6 years older than me. Desiree's 5.5. And I know that we're sleeping over in Michael's bedroom. We're all camping out on the floor, and we're in the area to like his bedroom connects to the attic. Now this is like a late 1700s, like early farmhouse that we grew up in.
Oh my gosh.
And, I mean, we've done a lot of shit. We're trying to do the light as a feather. We're trying to talk to spirits. We're playing, like we're doing
married,
all that stuff.
Dang, you guys were like hollering for these ghosts.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, great. You feel it like that.
Foundation is built.
Yes, absolutely. And they were always like, let's fuck around people when they're like sleeping and whatever. So it was like, whoever falls asleep first, you're going to get messed with. It was like one time they picked as many like fuzzballs off a blanket to be like, put it in this person's hair. Like we always had summer sleepovers. It was just like, let's stick their hands in water. It was just, I don't know. Yeah. It's like apparently like a pleasure to torment people. Yes. Okay. So we had this really, really horrifying mask that looked like the devil, that had like skin and looked like it was like just, melting off of its face, reds, oranges, blacks, and like had horns and whatever. And again, my parents just bought this, like, right? Like not that it was Halloween or anything. It was just like, we need this mask. So anyway, it's in the middle of the night and something is tapping me and waking me up. And I'm like, Mike, leave me alone. Like, leave me alone, Mike. Like, okay, like, I'm so used to being, with being the little one that I'm always the one getting screwed with. And I wake up and he is right in front of my face, Monique. He's wearing this mask.
Oh my God.
In the middle of the night, like this is what he decides to do. And he's in my face, like 3 to 4, like maybe 6 inches from my face. And I'm like, Mike, come on, like, leave me alone. I'm trying to be brave and whatever. And so finally I turn and I look over, like to move from the side to be like, whatever, leave me alone. I look over and Michael is asleep in his bed.
Oh my God. Okay. You just gave me goosebumps. What the heck?
I look over and the thing is still in front of my face. And I did the only thing I knew how to do, which was pull the covers up over my head.
Oh my God.
And I think I like just went into a level of paralysis and like dissociated. And like, I don't remember what happened. And I had pushed that memory away for quite some time until I was like late teenager. And I was like, shit, like that really happened. That wasn't a joke. That wasn't a dream. And so that really scared the shit out of me. So I don't ever know what that was, but the mask used to always reside like at the bottom of the stairs of this attic. And I don't know why it was just always down there, like behind the door and whatever. So yeah. Okay. So that's part one.
And so then this happened. Did you tell your parents?
Yeah, but
I'm sure they laughed.
No, I did not tell anybody. Like I repressed it. Like I don't even know what happened to me after like the pulled the covers up over my head. Like it was like a repressed, like,
oh my gosh, then you just had to live with this mask.
Yeah. And okay. So, and then I want to be accepted, I want to be cool. I want to be around with them. Like we're in the middle of the country. There's not a lot of friends, right? Like you got to do these scary things that they want to do if you want to have community and friendship, right? To be accepted. So again, my parents are out for the evening and we're sitting in Michael's room and we're playing the Ouija board. Because of course, why aren't we, right?
It's a Friday night. What are you going to do?
And it's not
what else would you be doing,
to an ancestor or anything like that. We're trying to talk to demons, apparently. Like that's who we're asking for.
Great idea.
I'm realizing this now, like, what the hell? Like, why?
You criticize me. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, but that's why I was so anti anything, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So we're playing in Michael's room and finally my parents come home and whatever. And we're still playing it. It's like 1, 2 in the morning, whatever. And
so we're talking about an hours long Ouija sesh here.
Exactly. Yeah. And again, I didn't even like you say that now. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. All right. So eventually we go to bed. We get woken up in the morning and my mom and dad are like, all right, you guys need to get out of the house. We had a little bit of an electrical fire in the kitchen. And Michael's bedroom is directly above the kitchen where the ceiling fan is, where this started. And we were like, I then straight up told my parents, I was like, we were playing the Ouija.
Yeah.
And I was like, and they were like, get it out of the house, go burn this. Then my parents were like, we're not fucking around with this anymore. Yeah. And I was like,
they were scared.
Oh yeah.
They have some history with occult stuff too.
Yes. And my mom just told me just enough to just be like,
scare the hell out of you.
She said, okay, I can't even, well, it's Monique. She probably wants to know, but she said that they were into it when they were in their 20s. Like my parents got married when they were 19.
So this was like straight like Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah.
Like post like that early 70s.
Yeah.
Like Exorcist, Rosemary's Baby time period.
So she said that they had to have the minister come in and basically bless and exorcise the entire like apartment building because my dad had occult books in the house. And that the one day, this is all she ever told me. She wouldn't tell me anymore. And I'm like, please don't tell me anymore. She kept saying like, she'll tell me more as an adult, but I have never, ever pursued the situation again. But she said that there was blood on the corn on the cob. Like,
well, they opened the kitchen.
Oh, well, she told you this?
Or your dad did. Yeah.
Okay, go on.
So they opened the refrigerator to get food out and it was pouring blood out of the vegetable crisp.
See?
And it was still there when the pastor came.
That's insane. That's nuts.
Yeah, so,
and these, like, if you met these people, they are the most, like...
No, I believe them.
Well, yeah, like, they are, like, I don't know how else to describe it. Like, if it's not in front of them and they're not looking at it, they will not believe that it's real. Like, if this did not happen...
They're both, like...
And they still are both, like, no, ghosts aren't real.
Devout Christians.
Dude, blood was pouring out of your fridge. Yeah, but that happened once. You know,
yeah, but they're both
doesn't that just happen sometimes? Come on.
Yeah, devout Christians now. And my brother Michael is now a pastor.
The chaplain of the prison and,
So anyway, this has been my formative thing of like, I cannot do scary because to me it was so real. And like, why would anybody want to watch this? Why would anybody want to dabble in this? Because
it sounds really scary. And with the fire,
felt so sensitive to it. So I just was like, oh, that's what's going to be in a horror book.
Mm-hmm.
And actually reading through a lot of these things have helped me to, I think, heal and process a lot of this. And so I'm going to just throw it back to you for both your expertise in ghost hunting and the therapist section here. Like, what the hell happened to me?
That's all you, Monique.
Ghosts, but I'm a believer. I do think
I'm very sensitive to it. Like, I think that's why Adam's like, why don't you watch it? And I'm like, no, because it comes to me way too easily. Is what I feel like.
It's almost like because like the book doesn't bother you as much, but when there's the images attached to it, like in a movie, like it cycles.
I feel like a portal, like just
like where it opens something up and you've worked so hard to like close it off. I do think that you can do that and you can have experiences like that. Rebecca, I have not always been such like a brave ghost hunter because back when I was growing up in my first life, my house that I lived with my parents, I was scared a lot and I had a lot of like weird experiences, but nothing that was like real ghosty there. Not until I spent the night at a friend's house and there was something weird that happened there. But really like the super spooky ghost stuff happened at the house that my sister and my mom live at right now. And when it was happening, I hated it. I mean, it was horrible, especially when it was happening at first. There was stuff moving around my room every single night.
Yeah.
I heard a disembodied scream. It was like you would see like shadows moving and it's one of the spirits there. I don't even know what to call it because my mom will not let us investigate it. Dang it, Mom. And it's a mimic. So we've heard like our family members' voices and stuff.
Shit.
Like they're right in the room next to, they're not there. But it like mimics people. And even like, I think my niece is going to share about it in like, we're doing a Ghost with Kids episode, finally.
Nice.
Where the kids get to tell their ghost stories. But she had an experience where she was real little and ducking back and forth like behind a door. And my mom came up to her and she's like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm playing with Papa, my dad. My dad was still alive at the time, but my dad was not home. And she's like, what do you mean you're playing with Papa? She's like, yeah, Papa. And she's like, honey, Papa's not here. And she's like, yeah, he is. He's right there. And pointed to like where nobody was, but was like dead set and like making facial expressions like somebody was right there interacting with her that looked just like my dad. And my mom had also seen something that looked like my dad before too. It was very weird. And then the house that I lived in when I first moved out and had my girls in, we had weird experiences there. And I was really scared of it too. I think I had to lean into it a little bit more. So I was trying to interact with the ghosts at the last place that I lived that was haunted in order to make it clear that I didn't want to interact.
Yeah.
But to like say hi and acknowledge them in some kind of way. And when I moved into this new house that I'm living in now with my kids, I kind of walked in and I very like clearly acknowledged it of I am shutting this part of myself off. If there's anything
Okay.
here or around that is looking for my help, I will not be giving it to you until my children turn 18 and leave this house, because I'm not particularly scared of you, but they are. And so I just have to shut off this part of me for now. And it was like, it did feel like putting a whole wall up and literally like nothing ever happened here.
Okay.
And I think you can do that, Rebecca. And I
I
think
feel
it's
that way. I
yeah.
feel like I have a brick, like a whole thing up. And that's why,
Mhm.
like, I'm just like, I think that's why I was so surprised to realize that I can read a horror book, because it's so much different than what I thought. I still feel like I am incredibly selective about what film I will or won't watch. Like, 90% of the time I'm going to be like, no, that's not for me,
Yeah.
because it just knocks at the wall too much. And I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Which is why this is funny. It just keeps coming back to Josh Mallerman, but I almost straight up punched at him in the face,
Yes.
because
I was worried for my safety.
you should have been, because he didn't tell me. And he's like, here, read this book.
I was like, Incidents Around the House. It's
And I was
so
like,
good. You're going to
never,
love it.
It is
ever
so
give me a book
good.
that regards these things. And I'm halfway through and they start going in and I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
this is an exorcism. And he's like, no, it's
I
not.
mean, no.
And
I
I'm
feel like
so mad.
Incidents is one of the most like ghostly books to be out
I
in
know.
forever.
I got to tell you, it was worth. I was
fed
like,
up.
you know what? If you have to escort me to the bathroom again, like,
I'm too into it. I'm not stopping now.
yeah. And I'm so glad that I did read it, but and it showed me that, okay, I could read something like this and it didn't break down my wall. So I'm glad that I can have like a medium, through books, that I can read these things and it doesn't disturb me.
I think maybe because the book is a longer form,
I don't know,
that it doesn't depend on like the shock value as much as like a film does, that you're able to sort of, it's almost like kind of like what you're saying with what you did when you walked into your house, Mo, that it's like you kind of take that power back to yourself and acknowledge and sort of take that power away from whatever that thing is, because 99% of the time I don't think that any of these, whatever you want to call them, spirits, ghosts, entities, want to cause harm. They just want to be known.
Yeah.
And time probably doesn't exist the same way for them, so saying like, look, I will have the time for you, is not now though. It's almost like they're like, okay.
Monique, have you read B.S. Lawrence's book, the new one,
With Friends Like These?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I gotta
Well,
read it.
I'm not saying a word, but after this discussion, please read this book.
Yeah.
Friends Like These.
Yes, I'll send it to you. I'll send you the,
You
all
can
the
edit
things.
this out, Adam.
Yes.
You can edit this out.
And actually, we talked to her at 5.
Yeah, I'm not, I don't want to say anything. It is so like aligned to the conversation that we're having right now.
Cool.
Crazy cool.
Yeah.
It's like, it's good. Like you'll feel like after what we just talked about, you're going to be like, holy shit. So, okay.
Cool.
Yes, I will send that, and then I'll ask her, maybe she'll forward you a copy or an e-arc or something, or it's out, but like an e-copy or something of it, because I'm sure she would want you to read it. But to go back, and this is kind of like it's changing the subject, but not, because it's a very similar thing of something that we don't talk about and is really scary. But the way that you explore motherhood and pregnancy and Don't Eat the Pie, I think, is a lot of issues that people don't want to talk about, especially men. And then because men don't want to, they don't allow women to talk about it.
I think women are perpetuators of it too.
Yeah.
Because
sometimes that too, because there is, and I think it does come back to like the sort of patriarchal idea that, a woman's duty is to be pregnant and have the baby, and do so in a way that looks good, feels good, and like, oh, there's nothing I would want to do more than to be pregnant and have the baby. And I think Sam, both in how sick she gets, and then also sort of some of the discussions around, and you kind of say it as in like, she didn't want to be a mother, but it's more like she doesn't act in the way that people say mothers are supposed to act, and coming to the realization that that's okay, because motherhood is not one thing.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely, with our first daughter, that term of the hypergravidium.
Oh yeah, the hyperemesis gravidum thing.
That.
Yeah.
I had that. But
Oh my gosh.
there was no, okay, this is the number one reason why we have a 10-year gap between our children.
Yes.
Because I was
traumatized.
I was traumatized, but I was so violently ill that I was in the hospital several times, like getting rehydrated with just like the first time I had 5 IV bags like dumped in to rehydrate myself. So, I mean, my mother was like, oh, I threw up every pregnancy. I threw up all the time. Like, it was just very like, this
Suffer
is
in silence.
Yeah, like,
yeah, they
normal.
very downplayed the severity and
another
the torture
person was
it can
like,
be. Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with you? Like, why won't you feed your baby? And I'm like, I can't eat. Like, I can't eat anything. Like, I am so ill. And I got to the point that I was so dehydrated and sick for so much throwing up, for days that I just was like, I don't even care if I die. Like, I was like delusional. So it was like, either you're going to the hospital by ambulance or, you can go in. So, and then after I got rehydrated, I felt so much better. But my mom just saying like, no, it's normal to throw up and whatever. And then later on, about 5 years after that, then Kate Middleton was pregnant and it came out about her having the like extreme morning sickness. And I was like, finally there was like some light shed on it. And, and then I started hearing about other people like having to have like the PICC lines put into their arms. And like, I guess I didn't even have it as
an option.
That's a terrible thing to say. No, I did.
You did.
I just mean like those people that have the PICC line are like the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, I mean, no one ever told you this. You think because you're a female, you're designed to have this, baby, like your body's made for it. So, and the only way I can explain it to someone who's never had this is like, it is like having the perpetual stomach bug nonstop, where you have absolutely no control over, I mean, the amount of times that I would just dry heave like that, I couldn't catch my breath and there's nothing left to come out. So our second child didn't have any of it. I had some nausea, like in terms of just like feeling, oh, but I didn't have that, which was just, so valuable to not go through that. And it's like, okay, that's what a normal morning sickness is like, or all day sickness. And like when something pops into your head, but it was crazy because in your book, Mo, you were kind of like the doctor's kind of dismissive and just kind of like, oh, just do this, do that. And it was crazy because I was in at the OBGYN and he was like, oh, don't worry. That baby's like a parasite. He or she is just going to take whatever it needs from you before it ever, like you'll
die first, basically.
Yes. Yeah. And I was like, and I'm like young. I mean, Adam and I like, I'm young. I'm like 18, about to be 19. And I'm like, parasite. Like, and I lose 20 pounds. Like I didn't actually gain weight having a baby because I threw up so much. So I look at that and then going into the next phase, I mean, I remember for the first appointment, they were like, oh, have you had any trouble with postpartum? And I was like, I don't even know what that means. And why are you asking me that when I've never even had a baby before? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, so I'm not watched for it. I had no clue that I have postpartum after all this happens. And you know what I mean? Just like, even for the second time, it's just very much a suffer in silence. And I think that there's a beauty to social media, especially for me, like TikTok, of the amount of things that I have learned and discovered, whether that's through therapists that use the platform or other women of, oh my God, I really suffered. I had no idea, that I was going through this. Wow. I didn't realize that I wasn't having this, and this happen. And just the amount of like deaths that still happen to women, through pregnancy and especially women of color, I was going to say. It's just, and then there's just, like you said, Adam, there's these women that are just like, oh, I love being pregnant. It's so easy. And just being judged, like, I didn't realize at that time that I had PCOS. And it was when you get PCOS so early in life, which I can remember my mom, like around like 11 or 12, my mom was like, I need you to go scrub your neck. Like your necklace has like rubbed off on you, like stained my neck or whatever. Well, I didn't realize at that time that it was
a symptom of PCOS.
It is a symptom of PCOS, but the darkening. So basically it changes. I learned this later because I love to go down the rabbit hole and hello, I'm neurodivergent and I'm reading about this. And basically it changes the structures of your breasts and you have more wide set apart breasts. And you also have the structures to be able to nurse. So not only did I have a C-section, but like I'm young and I have this baby and they're just like the lactation consultant, like can't help me. I can't nurse my child. Like, and all these mothers are like, you're not nursing. And I'm like, I'm trying, like she's starving. And they're like, let me introduce you to my daughter-in-law's best friend who's she's nursed every one of her babies. And my mom's like, I nursed every one of my babies. And it was just this
I had to force them to stop,
horrible, isolating
God.
experience of horrific. And I just felt like you gave such a name to my pain and experiences of the horror for that. So I just want to say thank you because, I'm happy for these women that have had wonderful experiences, but it's just not talked about enough. And now with social media, we are hearing those things and people brave enough to share it, but it's just, you cannot expect that because you're pregnant that you're going to have this wonderful experience before, during, after. I don't think anybody gets out alive. Like you usually have something that happens. But yeah, I mean, just trying to nurse and knowing that like I felt like it was my fault and realizing years later that, oh, this is a biological issue and no one told me, it just, we learned so much. So I hope by me being vulnerable that this helps someone who's listening.
Aw, I really appreciate that. And I'm glad that it felt like you felt a little seen in the book through that. And I didn't have the same experience as you, but I definitely experienced stuff similar. And I felt like it wasn't really represented well in anything I read or watched at the time either. And it was at a time too where they had just overturned Roe versus Wade. And I wanted to speak on that of like what it feels like actually and how dangerous it is actually. And why choice is important. But yeah, pregnancy in a lot of other cultures too, they call it like sick with baby. And I'm like, that is so much more accurate. And so, that was terrifying to me. And I have, 2 kids and that was scary for me and I didn't really know what to do. And so including that in the book felt really important to me of what it actually feels like to have, no choice in something, to feel forced, and that it isn't this magical, wonderful like experience. It's a life-threatening condition. Actually, statistically, women are the most likely to be murdered when they are pregnant.
Wow.
So like the most likely to be murdered people on the planet are pregnant women.
No way.
If you're a pregnant woman and going through a divorce, statistics are against you.
That is.
Yeah. So I wanted that, to me felt like the scariest thing at the time. And I was like, yeah, that's the scariest freaking thing. So I'm going to write about that. And I'm glad that you felt seen.
Yeah, I mean, obviously not, I've never been a pregnant woman, but I definitely felt like it was very eye-opening for me as a husband and, having witnessed those things, and whether it goes perfectly or whether, whatever you want to call perfectly or not, it is a traumatic experience for your body as a woman, period.
In the end of my second one, I was like, I'm never doing this again.
No, I'm just, outside of that, no, like the things.
Like physically.
Physically,
that's what it was.
It is impossible to understand all of the things that happen.
Even during though, like, again, there's so much out there and you read afterwards, but like, they always say like, oh, it's a wives' tale that your feet grow. No, they do. They grow.
Yeah,
and
you went
100%.
almost 2 sizes and then it went back down.
Yeah.
To 1.
But your feet grow and your butt grows in order to balance out the baby weight that you're holding in the front.
It's biological.
It is.
So I had a couple more questions, but I didn't know your time because I know you potentially had another appointment. Are you good, Mo?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good for a few more questions. Sorry if you hear a bunch of children in the background, but apparently tons of kids are over my house right now.
It's not nice.
I feel like mom's busy. Let's just invite the freaking neighborhood.
Demons. Okay, come on. So I wanted to talk about Stay the Night a little bit because I became obsessed with it this summer.
Which is so cool.
I listened to probably the entire series flying to and from the Dominican Republic this summer, and I was so sad when I realized I had finished the last episode. So when you posted that it was coming back, I was so excited.
Yay.
But I wanted to ask a question because it kind of, in some ways, to talk about places that are haunted, you almost have to go into, if you're going to do it right, it has a true crime aspect to it as you talk about what happened in these places. And I think that there was a big true crime, especially in podcast boom, and then a backlash towards it because I think there was a very almost like they wanted to make it humorous or in like entertaining. And I think they went maybe a little too far and became a little callous towards the actual victims. And I think and it's not necessarily a question, but it's praise. I think that your podcast is so funny because of the relationship between you and your sister and the way you interact, but you're always so respectful towards what has happened to these places. And I think that maybe that comes from also being respectful towards the spirits and wanting to go into all these places, not sort of challenging the things there, but respecting it. Was that purposeful when you set out and said, I'm going to make a podcast about this, that you were making sure to do that as you talked about the events and then also the spirits?
Yeah, I'm really glad that it's coming across that way, because that is something that me and Katrina, I think, have worried about doing the podcast and doing some of the locations that have a lot more like violence and trauma associated with them, which is why I don't think either of us have done a prison yet or like an asylum. We will be covering an asylum on the newest season, and I hope I do it well. But yeah, that was definitely intentional in how we wanted to talk about things. And yeah, we have fun. Man, I love my sister. Thank you for saying we have like a fun chemistry, because
I haven't listened to it as much, but just hearing the two of you. And then that was a big part with Don't Eat the Pie. I was like, I just love the sister relationship in there. And I was like, I don't have a sister, but it makes me really want one.
Yeah.
Just the way you're so close.
Oh, yeah, I'm really lucky with my sissy. I feel like I just like hit the lottery with her. She's my younger sister. And yeah, I don't know how I would ever do anything without her. Like, my life goals, I was telling someone the other day, were to like have kids and live close to my sister. And so I've already achieved everything.
Love that.
But yeah, I think we do try to be respectful and honor and like just talk about how wonderful the people who, unfortunately are victims of violent crimes in some of these places. And yeah, we really like also shit talking the murderers so much.
Yes,
So
I love that. Because there is a glorification, that has happened so often. And you're like, in this fucking asshole. This
yeah. Oh
I
my
love that.
gosh. Yeah. So we totally, it is very intentional that we try to do that, and really intentional with how we approach haunted spaces or spaces where there might be spirits or whatever is there present.
They might get sassy with you, but you're not getting sassy with them, right?
Right.
Go to sleep, or what was it?
Oh yeah, that was so funny. At the Prospect place, where we were in the, what did they call it? It was like a quarantine room, basically. Like, when people were really sick, they would put them in this room, and the room, man, it was such a sad, heavy feeling in the room, and it smells like sick. It smells like sick hospital. It's very weird because it's like a manor, and no other area of the house smells like that. But yeah, it was late at night, and we kept asking questions, and it kept being like, aren't you tired? Like, it's so late. Isn't it like so late? We're like, okay, we'll go to sleep.
Trying to change the subject. I mean, I love that.
Yeah.
It's like our 12-year-old will do that to us when we're downstairs and she wants us to go. And she's like, isn't it late?
It's like, don't you have something to do? Yeah. Is this like it's time? Like, where are you up?
To have my own space.
Yeah, that's what the ghost is saying. This is my time, guys. Like, you're intruding.
Honestly, and like after that, I don't think we did much. We tried to do, we were sitting in like the little girls' room for a little while, and then my sister literally started falling asleep in the chair, and I was like, okay, I guess we're calling it. And we went, how they have it set up and that too. Like, there's, man, going into that house, like, I think that's where I really learned how to be like just extremely respectful and like thankful to whatever is living, beyond us, or like dead beyond us, or whatever. Because yeah, walking into that house feels like you're walking into someone's home, and it doesn't feel empty. It feels full of people. And so you have this, like, I walked into it and I wanted to treat it just as I would if I were walking into like a friend's or a family member's house who was like, I'd love you to come enjoy the space with me and like learn. And yeah, when we were going to bed that night, after we kept getting that spirit coming through and just being like, okay, bye, go sleepy. And then Katrina fell asleep. There was like what they called the safe room, where there were cots available for us to set up. So we set up our cots, we laid down, and as soon as we laid down and pulled the covers up, you could hear people walking around.
Wow.
And it sounded like doors creaking open, somebody walking
like
up
a haunted
the stairs.
mansion once it's dark. That's crazy.
Yeah. But they were like, okay, you've had, like, we've done the thing, and now we're actually just going to go about our business. Yeah.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
So is there a timeline for when we can expect Stay the Night to be back?
So I think our let me see. We already have episodes like uploaded. I think that the first one comes out the 18th. I think that's right. And you can announce it even if my
you made my
sissy doesn't want me to.
Thank you. I love that.
It's either the 18th or the 11th.
Okay.
I'll tell you for certain, and after the call,
Monday,
and I can hop onto
so
my
it's
bus.
either that Monday or the next Monday. Okay.
Yeah, but we're gonna be back to Mondays. And we've got some cool stuff, you guys. I'm really excited.
Alyssa wants me to know if you're re-recording her episode because she went off so hard.
Oh, of course we will. I have to see if I can find it. It's like a 2.5 hour file.
Oh man, I would pay you good money to listen to that.
I really
This
do
is
want to
giving
hear
me
her
inspiration for my
commentary.
Patreon. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey,
That's
all about it.
awesome.
That's
Yes.
good. But that was so
Because
funny.
that's kind of like the goal of this podcast, is to not feel like it's as interviewee and I want it to feel like people are just sitting here and they're just like, man, I love turning this podcast on because I never know what shit they're going to get into and what they're going to discuss. But it's always it's going to go from, you might laugh, but also it's going to get into some societal shit.
Yeah.
And the psychological whatever. And that's where you're obviously what Alyssa went off the tangent for. I'm like, I want to hear all that. I love that to be with the Patreon. That's worth paying for.
Thanks. Maybe we'll set up a Patreon. Maybe we set up
Just
one
for
back in the day.
You can listen to Alyssa's ranting.
Yeah, we get Alyssa on just once a month.
10 minutes at a time release the rant.
Yeah, that night, Katrina and I usually we record most of the time in the morning, so we're not drinking. But that night, Alyssa had to record late, and we were all like, you know what? It's been kind of a long day. Let's have some wine. But we ended up running upstairs to get more wine, and she had to run out and get more wine. And we were just hanging out. It was fun. It was fun. But yeah, she says
the feel. I think that your podcast always feels, you do a lot of research, your facts are there and everything, but it also does feel like you're just hanging out with the coolest people that know about haunted places and just laughing and enjoying yourself. So if you have not listened to Stay the Night, you need to make sure you go back and listen to all the other episodes before it comes back August 11th or 18th. So make sure to hype the hell out of that.
Oh, thanks.
Don't Eat the Pie obviously is out now. Hopefully there will be more from you very soon.
Yeah.
Where can we look for any updates or what's going on for you? Where do we find you?
I'm on the Instagram the most. I do have a website, so it's just moniqueasher.com. But yeah, if you want to connect with me, that's where we met, on the Instagram.
Yes.
I'm at Mo Asher Writes, and I try to do stories at least once a week where I'm just checking in and saying hi. I've done some random lives over the years, and I am also toying with the idea of, I used to do this little live show called 20 Minutes of Terror, where I interviewed and did a couple game show kind of games with horror authors, and I'm thinking about bringing it back.
Hey,
I don't know.
that's so cool.
Yeah, so we'll see, but yeah.
My vote is to bring that back for sure.
I hadn't even thought about it in a really long time, and then Alessi's why aren't you doing that anymore? Why aren't you doing that? You need to be doing that. What's wrong with you? And so I'm okay.
And also, I love your dog. We have a very similar dog that looks like a bear, and I think you have a dog that just had, I saw it on one of your stories, walking around, and I'm like, is there a bear back? I'm like, no, I need to pet that dog.
He's mostly a old English sheepdog, which he is just like that. He's such a pain sometimes. I love him to death. He's my guy. But with guests and stuff, he totally jumps up on him. And I'm like, man, why is he such a jumper? And then, this is so dumb, but I was rewatching The Little Mermaid the other day. And I was like, I got the dog that I wanted. I got the old English sheepdog that jumps on everybody.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What
kind of dog do you guys have?
Yeah. We have 5 dogs.
Oh my God.
So, yes, our dog that's like a bear is an English lab, so they get really big. She's 130 pounds and very barrel, but she's an old girl now. She'll be 12.
Do you guys have land, a lot of land?
We have about an acre.
Okay, yeah.
So, but they run around. But we have a
fenced-in yard.
Yes,
yeah.
They definitely enjoy themselves, and we have a pool that some of them get into. But
we started out with one. And then we were like, okay, with Hank, and we had such a good time.
He's a black lab pit mix.
And then we got Winston during the pandemic, which is a corgi. And then a neighbor, a previous neighbor of mine, her sister had like passed away, died of a heart attack, and Strawberry was by herself for like 5 days. They don't even know how she survived, but
that's our English lab.
They were like, hey, you know, do you know anybody? And I was like, well, let's meet her. Well, she comes in and jumps and sits right next to Adam on the couch and just starts smiling in his face. And he's like, well, I guess she's home.
Yep.
So we rescued her and took her in. And then
another neighbor, a Rottweiler, jumped their fence.
Yeah.
And got their French Mastiff pregnant. So we have.
So we went in with our neighbors.
It was a lab Rottweiler mix. So it's basically mastadors.
Yes.
Babies. And so we were like,
our neighbors,
yes,
we each
please.
got one. Like she had like 12 or 14, whatever.
And I picked the chunkiest one I could find.
Yes, you did. And then Cortez was not supposed to be our dog, but
he's
he was
a border collie
on Halloween night just roaming around. He was like a puppy and no tags, no nothing. He was just someone else.
You were delivered a border collie puppy from the universe?
Yes. So
he's our jumper. He's like your dog.
Yeah. So we picked him up on November 1st, which is Annabelle's birthday. So we don't know his exact birthday, but we're like, anyway,
the youngest.
Yes. And so that's how, like, out of compassion. And then we have a lot of cats, Mo. It's a lot because every time I see,
I swear people know now that we take them in and they dump them at our house.
Like, my God. Universe delivers. But here's the thing I found these 2 cats that were like eating, it's freezing cold. It's February and they're eating a baked potato, like out of the trash. And I was like, okay, you have to come home with me, you know? And like,
they were both pregnant and we didn't know it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So now we have 10 cats. We have 3 floors. We have like 3,000 square foot house and I have like 12 litter boxes but they're all, you know, they're all ours and we take care of them. But I've done a lot of like adopting and trying to help other, you know, animals and, you know, whatever. But it's my little, I was going to do a full cat rescue at one point, but I'd never realized the mortality rate with kittens is really high and the things that can happen. And after a couple of, without going into details, some things I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm cut out for that. I'm just a little too emotional. I think I've done my part because over half of our cats are rescued from outside or we're going to be drowned. So I just have a sympathetic heart or empathetic heart. And so now they all have a home.
Yeah. I hear that and I get it. Honestly, like I would like another animal, but I can't justify it unless like one comes, you know, like one like happened to you guys. Like it just comes up to you and you're like,
so what do you want, a dog or a cat? We'll mail you a couple.
No.
You're going to conjure one for me?
Yeah, you want one of each?
I don't know. I feel bad though because I would like a hypoallergenic dog or a hairless cat because so I've had my cats for forever, but I recently found out, I always thought I was allergic to dogs. So we got like an old English sheepdog that was actually supposed to be like part poodle, but I really don't think he's part poodle. I think he's just 100% sheepdog. But then my allergy switched. And so I switched from being allergic to dogs to being allergic to cats. I am more of a cat person. So I think in the future, if I have a cat, it's going to have to be a hairless one. So if you can manifest a very expensive hairless kitten to show up on my front porch.
We'll talk to the moon.
I'll do my best.
We'll talk to the moon.
We'll talk to the moon.
Well, this was absolutely wonderful. Everything I thought it would be. Thank you so much. And, you know, whenever there are any other projects that you want to talk about that we will read and discuss with you, you are always invited to come back on. And
I would love to
listen to some more. Yes, absolutely. Yay. We can't wait to listen to some more Stay the Night.
I guess I'll have to write you a check for my therapy session.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little over an hour that you can bill us.
No, I didn't therapy you. You would know because you already have a bill. So you're fine. Thank you guys so much for having me. I had a wonderful time hanging out.
Thank you.
Enjoy the house full of children that you didn't realize you had.
Oh my gosh. Thanks. You know, good luck to me.
Well, there it is, our fantastic, fun, unhinged, but insightful conversation with the brilliant Monique Asher. She is a fantastic writer. Don't Eat the Pie, which is out now, you should definitely buy. And anything else that she has coming out, as you could hear, there is a lot of very exciting projects on the horizon for her. And once you're done with this podcast, you need to pop on over and put on Stay the Night, which now has new episodes coming out, hopefully weekly as well. So this is definitely Francis approved. And until next time, stay horrifically well read, bled, and said.